Improved credit rating for Nigeria will enable access to funds for economic development, says Minister of Budget and Economic Planning. On Commodity Watch, cooking gas price drops by 14.23% in July 2024. Plus, oil prices catch breath after days of losses, with Brent at $77.20 a barrel. Our guest on the program today is an economist, Aliu Elias. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Bakar. Now, to enable Nigeria attract the desired resources she needs to drive economic development, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Atiku, says confidence, integrity and soundness of the financial system is key ingredient needed to improve Nigeria's credit rating. The minister says the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, has a critical role to play in achieving the Renewed Hope Agenda as well as Agenda 2050.
Because our Agenda 2050, which is the statement of our national aspiration, requires that we invest no less than $100 billion per annum in order to achieve a GDP per capita of 33,000 plus by the year 2050. We are nowhere near that. The current level of financing is much, much smaller than that. We have undertaken bold and courageous economic reforms. Our budget, our federal budget, is very small compared to our peers. We are at $20 billion. For a country of 220 million people, compared to Indonesia, another country of about our same size, with $210 billion federal budget, or Brazil with $740 billion. So that goes to say that to fund our Agenda 2050 and the Renewed Hope Agenda, we are looking for a lot of money.
Now, the ABC ambassadors of Australia, Belgium and Canada have commended Nigeria's efforts at promoting transparency and good governance in the extractive sector and agrees to assist Nigeria with technical support towards achieving increased revenue for sustainable development. This was as the visitors were taken through the recently launched state-of-the-art data center at the NTA House in Abuja. While the global conversation on reduction in use of fossil fuels takes center stage, Nigeria is set to lose a large chunk of revenue from sales of crude oil, which happens to be the main source of revenue for the country. To this end, NIT is asking the international community to consider acting fast in bridging development gaps between the developing and the developed economies by way of investing in gas infrastructure, as it is Nigeria's choice of cleaner energy. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says it has recorded increase in remittance inflows, reaching $553 million in July 2024, 130% increase from the corresponding period in 2023. Statement by Acting Director, Corporate Communications Department of the bank, Hakamashidi Ali, indicates that the figure represents the highest monthly total inflows on record and reflects ongoing efforts by the CBN to enhance liquidity in Nigeria's foreign exchange market. The growth in remittance receipts is said to be attributed to policy measures by the CBN to enhance liquidity in Nigeria's foreign exchange market, while the CBN is confident that the increase in remittances and the recent decline in inflation is a strong testament to the success of its reforms carried out. It anticipates that measures in place will contribute to achieving its broader objective of maintaining price stability. Now, the Naira depreciated to 1,610 Naira per dollar in the parallel market from 1,600 Naira per dollar on Monday. It depreciated to 1,592 Naira 6 kobo per dollar in the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market, NAFEM. Data indicates depreciation of at least 12 Naira 84 kobo for the Naira. Meanwhile, the Euro is trading at its highest this year against the dollar, emerging as a cleaner winner from the recent auctions in global currency market. Go up the Naira with dollars by pumping huge amount of dollars in the Forex market, but the exchange rate still remains high, with the Naira exchange at close to 1,600 Naira to a dollar, showing that the efforts of the Apex Bank has not yielded much. What more can be done to improve the Naira is the question on lips of many Nigerians to discuss. This. Of course, development we have in the Forex market and CBN reforms. We have an economist in the house, Aliu Elias. We'll be having the conversation with him on how to actually improve the situation in the market. Hopefully. Well, you're welcome to Business Express, Mr. Aliu Elias.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Well, maybe we could start the conversation from here. How has the increase in remittance, you've seen the recent development, how has the increase in remittance inflows impacted the liquidity and stability of Nigeria's foreign exchange market?
Right. I think it's a good news that we are having such a level of remittance, and if you look at it year on year, I think it's a good news for us. And also we have a marginal decrease in inflation. I think these are good optics for Nigeria economy. However, to see the reflection in the economy, I think it will be too early to look out for that. However, when we have more remittance like this, especially diaspora remittance, it's bring about price stability, which we are actually looking at, and also it will reduce arbitrary increase in price of goods and commodity, because our importer can easily go out to import goods and services. So I think it's a good one for us. Then I think they should not rest on their oars. They need to do more, because our economy need rejigging and need to be at a better level so as to have a good economy going forward.
Okay, given the record inflows, do you anticipate any changes in the exchange rate or other foreign exchange policies in near future?
Right. The major thing we need to do is to sustain that tempo, because if you can sustain it over time, it will now start to actually reflect. I will agree that CBN is doing all what they can do to make sure that at least they tame this level of increment in Forex. But with all they have put in place, they have done a whole lot. In fact, for me, I think it's even coming late that we are seeing this reflection, because you recall they've done a lot of intervention, work around the chain, work around cryptocurrency, and a whole lot of things they are working on. So I think it's a good one, but we need to be able to sustain it. And how do we sustain it? Is to make sure that we have more liquidity, because more liquidity will lead to more business in Nigeria.
Now, another thing we need to consider is global uncertainty. Much of this money is coming from all over the world. How do we see, how do you see them supporting this trend in the coming months, especially, just as I said, in the light of global economic uncertainties?
Right. Well, in as much as we are all hoping that there will not be a force majeure, which will be act of God that could destabilize the plan, I think if they can really sustain and maintain discipline, not only in their part, on all what they are actually supervising. And we must also see monetary policy and fiscal policy working together. I think that would have helped, because it's not good that monetary policy is trying to bring solution why fiscal policy is eroding it. As we could see that if you look at import duty, it's just moving up and down. We need a level of stability to actually achieve a better economy in Nigeria.
Okay, the MBA has reported a slowdown in year-on-year inflation for the first time in 19 months. How closely is this linked to the CBN's recent monetary policy? Because the CBN came out and said that it's also part of the reforms that we are seeing. It has somehow impacted inflation, that inflation is going down. Then how closely is linked to the monetary policy decisions of the central bank?
Well, in as much as this is the first time we are seeing such a decrease, we cannot say yes, that is the policy. But the fact remains that you could see most of their policy, such as the MPR, liquidity ratio and other things have been there, and they kept increasing those things consistently. We've not seen them dropping down. However, it's a good one that they are believing the policy, which we want to believe alongside them. But it is not yet time to say yes, well done. We need to see this consistently, maybe for the next 3 months. Then we can know that, yes, the next thing we need to do is to make sure we sustain the tempo of the achievement.
Okay, well, there's a lot going on actually in terms of the somehow the reforms, and recently currency traders, we've seen a lot of intervention, but currency traders have attributed the persistent weakening of the naira and the volatility of the foreign exchange market to the lack of consistency in dollar allocation to the Biridi Shonj operators by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Do you agree with this particular notion?
Right. You see that since the coming of Cardoso, he has been bringing about different policy to actually stabilize the Forex market. But all this was brought about the floating of Naira. However, going forward, I think they need to look at what they are doing and look at the reality on ground, because putting all these measures and we are not seeing considerable results may not encourage business people to believe in the business, may not even encourage foreign direct investment. So for Bureau change operator, they are under the CBN, and CBN will always want to come up with their decision in terms of their allocation and whatever. But going forward, I think if CBN believes what they are doing is okay, I think they need to prove it to us by sustaining it, because I want to see this remittance. As we are seeing more remittance, diaspora remittance, we want to also see foreign direct investment, because the inflow of liquidity will help our business to actually thrive in Nigeria. And marketer will always want to do a market will enjoy more business. Perhaps this will bring about importation. This will bring about low in the in arbitrary increase of goods and services. And this ultimately will also bring employment, because that simply means manufacturer can easily go to the market and predict the level of forex and the challenges in the economy, and by so doing, it will employ more, and Nigeria will have a better GDP for it.
Now, $500 million domestic dollar bond by federal government. I believe you must have been following that development, because we've reported it with other media platforms. How do you see this actually making impact in the FX market regarding, you need liquidity to actually stabilize things in the FX market?
Right. It's key that we have much more reserve. If we have more reserve, if you look at the reserve too, the reserve has increased, because if we have more reserve, that simply means we have liquidity of Forex. I think all this is driving at having a lot of liquidity available, so that it will help the Nigerian to actually compete favorably in the Forex market. It's a good one also.
Okay, well, I would like to follow you on the fact that we've seen the Budget and Economic Planning Minister Atiku Bagudu, saying that actually our budget is somehow small in terms of size, and this is actually partly to the fact that we're able to actually attract little funds because of our ratings. Our rating has not been good. So with this federal government reforms, we've been able to somehow improve things, or we are trying to improve things. And when you look at the budget size, we are talking about $22 billion compared to countries like Indonesia, which when you compare the size, we are almost the same size. They have a budget of over $200 billion. And when you look at Brazil as well, we are talking about over $700 billion. How much do we need to actually do to actually position ourselves so that we'll be able to attract the needed funds to drive development in the country?
Right. Most economies have canvassed for more budgetary appropriation in Nigeria, because you agree with me, you are even going far to Indonesia. Let's look at Africa. Even South Africa here, if you compare their budget to Nigeria, but you see that it's very, very small. Considering the number, our size, and the size of our economy, I think it's very, very small. And if you look at it generally, it reduces our development. We need to push in more into our budget so as we have a bigger budget. At least let's even start with 50 trillion. From there we can have much more better. But the challenge is always the revenue side, because government will say there is no more revenue to actually do that. But I think with the reform that is also coming in the area of taxation, I think it's a good one, because you may not actually increase tax, but you can expand the tax net, and that will bring, perhaps you see the target for FRS this year is about 19 trillion. I'm sure they are going to surpass that. By so doing, we can get more and increase our revenue by increase our budget. We need to do nothing less than 50 trillion for a budget in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Aliu Elias. It's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, moving on. The average retail price for refilling a 5 kg cylinder of liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, commonly known as cooking gas, decreased by 14.23% in July 2024. Data by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, shows that the price dropped from 6,966 naira 3 kobo in June to 5,974 naira 56 or 55 kobo in July. Despite this overall decline, Borno State recorded the highest cost for refilling 5 kg cylinder. This marks Borno as the most expensive state in the country for LPG refills. Yobe State followed closely, while Sokoto State in the northwest came in the third. On the other hand, Delta State in the south-south region recorded the lowest average price for refilling a 5 kg gas cylinder at 5,392 naira 86 kobo. Zamfara State and Kogi State also reported lower costs. Oil prices held broadly steady this Wednesday after a run of declines that have pushed Brent down to almost $77, driven by stubborn fears over Chinese demand and diminishing concerns about conflict spreading in the Middle East. Brent crude futures were stable at $77.20 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $73.10, down 7 cents since peaking above $82 on Monday last week. Brent had shed 6.2% of its value by the end of trading on Tuesday, closing at a 2-week low of $77.20. WTI fell 7.5% in the same period. Still talking commodity, gold pauses on Wednesday after record rally as market consolidates ahead of Federal Reserve meeting. We now see prices of gold and other commodities. Trading closed negative this Wednesday as the NGX all-share index appreciated by 95,831.51 basis point. Market capitalization dropped to 55.043 trillion naira. 360.5 million shares were traded in 8,813 deals, valued at 7.252 billion naira. Now, global market rises. Federal Reserve meeting output is being expected. Here's Bosede Abel Amosu with global market update. Hello, Bosede. Let's have the numbers.
All right. Thank you very much, Musa. Hello and welcome to the global market segment. European stock market moved higher this Wednesday, rebounding after snapping a long winning streak on Tuesday. We see the DAX up 0.58%, FTSE 0.23%, and CAC 40 of France also topped 38 points. Asian markets were mixed after U.S. benchmark indices snapped an 8-day winning streak overnight. Japan's Nikkei 225 slipped 0.29% after the data released, closing at 37,951.80. We see the Shanghai followed suit at 0.35% at 2,856.58. And the Hang Seng Index did not hold back, dipping 0.69% across 17,391.01. U.S. stock futures were little changed this Wednesday as traders look ahead to minutes from the Federal Reserve's latest policy meeting. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average top 77 points, S&P 500 0.22% and Nasdaq 0.22% as well. While in Africa, most markets are seen posting gains in midweek trade, while Ghana is in red at 0.28% across 4,341.57 basis points. That's the global market review. I am Bosde Ebu Amosu. Back to you, Musa.
Well, quite a bright prospect there for most markets in Africa except for Ghana. Well, thank you, Bosede. Well, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. Before we go, let's leave you with what to expect from the markets this week. Traders await Powell's speech Friday for policy outlook clues. Also, Nigeria aims to raise about $500 million through dollar-denominated bonds beginning Monday. We value your feedback, so keep the comments and observations coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns tomorrow. Have a beautiful day.